had to distract myself. And like one of the things I do in the middle of all the chaos is create really good. Like I can barely write at home. I usually write like either before I work, after I'm off work. There's a couple of breweries that I used to go to when I lived in Lawrence. I would oh god, where wa- where was the spot? I would never write at the replay. That's the only rule I really had besides not writing at Louise's. But I wrote at Louise's, I just didn't write in the middle of Louise's because if I was in the middle of Louise's, I would end up having to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was usually after work when we're all just kind of counting money and chilling. But now I've taken to Marvel movies as like the background stuff to where like if I'm sitting at the computer and I just kind of get that weird urge to hate myself for sitting in front of the computer and not being productive, I just step away and I just hit up Disney Plus and throw on some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll watch it for a little bit and be like, not in a negative way, but I'll just think, these fuckers did an entire fucking universe. I can't make one song.
Well,
And then it
it's probably
becomes
a good
like,
like perspective reset. Yeah.
yeah, it becomes it's the pebble theory in sand, where like if you really think about sand and you think of yourself as sand, you're really the smallest part of what makes sand sand. Because it's
Mm-hmm.
not just one pebble, it's like an infinite number of small pieces of glass that have been worn down and like rocks that have been worn down and fallen off of things and like resettled from being moved in storms. Like
That
the
sounds like a
beach,
very
even if it's a lake beach, is like, go ahead.
that sounds like a very Buddhist thing to approach it with. But also like in I think it's cognitive therapy. Like there's something similar where it's eye like an eye movement thing where if you can reset your brain based off of just like simulating quick eye movements or basically it's like a distraction therapy where you can
Yeah.
reset your emotional state and you can reset your whatever frequency your mind's working on based off of like just and now for something completely different. And I imagine Marvel movies are good for that because they're utterly brainless.
That's it.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
is totally it. Like knowing that I can sit there and watch something, I mean, it's all made up. You know it is.
yeah, it's all a green screen with people kind of like staring at things, and then you're staring at the
Yeah.
thing, and you are become death, the character in front of the green screen, and
Yeah.
then like they reset you as you reset yourself. I can totally see that perspective. Uh,
Yeah. Like they made a
I
lineal story for 12 years. I
yeah.
can't spend an hour doing this song.
Well, that's a
Like
really positive way of putting it. I feel like
it's
like
the kick in the ass I need to know that the Russo brothers got over from being the guys who basically helped Dan Harmon make Community what it was to like
uh,
now they run Hollywood. Like
now they're
every
like
actor you know
premier
of is
action
in those
directors.
movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it keeps kind of a perspective. And then I'm like, boom, idea, right back at it. So
I live
by
a,
the way,
a
I
fairly.
gave plasma today if you're wondering what that is. Sorry.
Oh,
I,
nice. Excellent work.
I had no
Yeah, and
idea.
I think Ebony, with your permission, I think we found our intro about 4 minutes back. I just want
Oh
to include all
yeah.
this if it's cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you've been listening, listeners. Thanks for joining us. This is the Long Play Listening Party. You've been listening to wisdom from Ebony Simon, Lefty Crow, producer Guinness. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. Also on the line, we've got Daniel Glasscock, Lovecraft, Softcore Syndicate, member of Serene Fiend, and Joel Bonner himself from Serene Fiend. Speaking of Serene Fiend, what's up,
The
guys?
Serene Fiend.
What's happening?
Yo, yo, yo.
So we're gonna listen let me give a minute of intro here, then we'll get some music going. But we're going to listen to the Dharmic Beams, Dharmic Dubs record. And I want to quick explain how this got started. So for the song Don't Stop, I Want More, the process for that song, that's the first song that I started for the Dharmic Beams project. So Daniel had sent me what became Throb Control, right?
Yep, Throb Control, and then
So I came up with this
over.
bass line for what became Don't Stop, I Want More, live bass line. And what I made for him was like 2 sets of loops. So this one, I didn't do a jam. It came over to him as a set of loops, like a 4-bar loop and a 2-bar loop or something, and different, all the percussion. I don't know how much of it got used, and the bass. And maybe that was all I did. All of it got used?
Everything, every little section that you sent me got in there.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But what happened as the early mixes started coming, like as Daniel started sharing the early mixes of what he was doing, number one, I was like, this is awesome. And number two, I immediately realized like, oh, this is going much farther afield from the original idea than I expected it to. And that I'm totally cool with that. But I also kind of want to make something that's closer to the original vision. So great, I'll just do like a little bonus track, like my version of this. So I thought, great, I'll do that. And I imagined it since it had a live bass, and I think I had done the drums with kind of like a reggae kick on the 2 and the 4. And I'd done some of the echoey guitars, I guess. So I was like, it had a very kind of dub feel. So I was like, okay, I'll do like a dub version of this.
Dub of all the dubs.
Yeah.
There's double dub.
Word.
And then I got to think, like Throb Control, I liked that vocal part that Daniel had done so much. And I don't know, I was like, oh, I could maybe I could put that on the 404 and like do a version where the vocal is like a little more forward and you just really get the vocal. So I had 2 dubs at that point, or like a dub and a remix. And I kind of forgot how it went from there, but eventually I realized I had like 5, and I was like, well, fuck it, I better just do a whole alternate version of the record.
Let's hear some of it.
Yeah. So I'll get some music going. Here's the Renaissance dub of Throb Control. And so there's the dub of Don't Stop, I Want More. This is more like a remix. For some of the tracks, I ended up doing more of a mashup where I would take a piece or 2 of the Dharmic Beams and mash it into an existing synth jam that was just like a loose end that I had previously laying around from other projects. But that's how we got all the way to 7. And then 8, because there's a final Bandcamp only version of the Royal Hotness at the original tempo.
It's pretty cool too. I think you'll come to find with the dub side of the record, it's much more like indulgent of the textural quality of what's going on. It allows for way more breathing room. My overarching philosophy in production and stuff is like completely trim the fat, like butcher the thing until like the indulgence should only be ramping it up towards ADD culture. Yeah. And it's nice to hear some of these musical ideas breathe a lot more on the dub side, because I mean, some of them deserve it, quite frankly.
And sonically, everything on the dub side went through the 404 Mark II. Either, like this one that we're listening to was actually produced on the 404 Mark II, but at a minimum, everything went through the Mark II as stems for different grab effects, and then some 303 vinyl and reverb on the bus.
Like, I'm sitting here nodding my head along to what you're saying, but really, I am just now getting into like equipment and exactly what things are, because I'm just now getting used to actually producing music. So like, this is good homework for me when I start to expand what I do, because right now it's just the keyboard, the mouse, and my Axiom 25. But like, I want to like hear these notes so I can kind of look for things randomly in like pawn shops. And
Ebony, if you ever need gear help, these two guys they'll set you straight.
Yeah, like that's what I need, because I only have a couple of things really in goal, in theory, that I want. But if I can start to really implement my own ideas instead of like kind of leaning on sampling, which I don't mind, it's actually my favorite thing to do, is like find something that someone did and do my own version using that. But like, I think I have a lot of ideas that I can flesh out in my head that I won't just be able to do with that particular equipment. So knowing people that have good knowledge about synths and even just like regular equipment, you know, guitars, and I had a couple of guitars and some xylophones, but I don't have any real keyboards or knowledge of keyboards and synthesizers at all.
So yeah, it's all about what you want to do musically and what your budget is. And I mean, what's amazing now, there's great gear at every budget level. So
yeah,
amazing
that's
gear doesn't have to be
You
expensive.
could save yourself a whole lot of trouble if you didn't.
Yeah,
You might be a whole lot
get that
happier if you
feeling.
just didn't do that.
I get that feeling too, but I mean, I've been at it since, like, I think I got my first paid professional music gig when I was barely old enough to drink. So like, my career is older than some of the people that have listened to my music regularly. And still evolving, because now I'm doing something in production that's entirely new.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. Like, I've tried and done a couple things, but like, I've maybe made like 5 beats before I really started concentrating on making beats and like doing the production side of music during COVID. Like, when I first got laid off work, that's the only reason I got into production like this. And it was like, do one a day, and I guarantee you it'll become habit. And then you might even get good at it. And then you might even feel proud enough of your art that you're not going to hold on to it and you'll release it. Because at that point in time, I was like, who knows what's going to happen? Like, and I'm still a little bit like that. That's why, you know, I think I put out, this is month 9. I think I have 7 releases this year. And it's just like, I don't want to waste time anymore. So I really, really just started concentrating on doing music. And now I just need to start working on like getting my equipment knowledge up so I can either dive in or just kind of dip my toe and then, you know, back off. So
Fuck yeah, dude.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Nice.
I don't want to take over the conversation here, but I mean, of course, like, your sound is defined by your instrumentation, but like your composition, it's how you interact with the instrumentation. And I'm like, I feel like if I could go back in time and like convince myself that soft synths were where it's at, or I should do everything in the box, like, I would have saved enough money I could have a new car at this point, you know?
Yeah.
And it's such a rabbit hole. It's like you get these awesome pieces of gear, and some of them are completely inspiring. Some of them are option paralysis. And you just don't know until you try them. And it's like, it's like, do you really want to bite off more than you can chew on this one? whenever there's one piece of gear that I've always had that I always will use. It's the Boss Dr. Rhythm DR880. That's like, if the rest of the studio burned down and that was all I had left, I'd still have about 60% of what I was going to do anyway, just sitting right there, and cheap as hell too. If you wanted to get one, it's like $250.
Yeah.
Like, it really, like, it is about simplicity. But whenever I'm like seeking deep dives into the genres and emulating my favorite bands and stuff, you get on forums and you read the gear lists and you go on Equipboard and you find out exactly what Roger Troutman used to make the talkbox sound on Zap. You find out exactly which synths David Frank used on the system. You find out exactly what software. Yeah. And it's like you could just go into infinite amounts of debt to find the sound that you know you exactly want and you exactly need. But it's always going to be like the balance between those two impulses. Like, I already got everything I need right here, but I could sound like all of my heroes for $40,000.
Oh, the dilemma. Like,
It's the true existential funk of our time.
yeah.
It's all just tools at the end of the day, though, right? I mean, and it doesn't. Tools are important, and tools can be very nice and very enjoyable, and can draw things out of you that only that specific tool can. But at the end of the day, like, the tool has to draw it out of you. You are at the center. We are at the center. And equipment can only facilitate what's inside of us. It can't do anything on its own.
True.
That's very true.
Speaking of equipment, briefly, for Nate's sake, this is a Lep Loop jam that existed prior to Dharmic Beams. The Lep Loop is a little Italian handmade synth groove box that I adore. And then I just mashed it up with the Get It Right sample from Black Neon and processed the stems on the 404. So there's only really those two elements, the Lep Loop jam and three. I mean, the effects are so important. I mean, the effects are almost like an element. So Lep Loop jam, vocal sample, 404 Mark II effects.
I like the placement of these drums. Like the sparseness of, like, they're there when you don't necessarily expect it, but they're exactly where they need to be.
Yeah, Lep Loop is really fun in terms of drum programming quotes because it only has two sounds, right? Like, so if you think kick, snare, hat, all Lep Loop has is kick and noise. And so you can shape that noise into sort of a snare, definitely a hat, or other just noisy, percussive or washy sounds. But it really does kind of force you to think about placement because you only have those two elements to work with. You don't have kind of the normal kit. Even a basic kit is not there, and that's one of the really fun. It's a barrier, or not a barrier. It's a challenge. It's a hurdle. It's a limitation. But I find it to be a really fun one.
Nice.
Howie, what extent do you rely on a DAW for this stuff? Do you just try and get it mostly as
that was a big question I had too.
Yeah, is it mostly all like direct in with minimal plugins, or do you use a lot of, subtle plugins, or what's going on?
Well, so I'm certainly not a purist when it comes to the 404 or like working on hardware. Like, so to take this song as an example, the Black Neon dub, that the synth and drums, that's an 8-bar loop that was recorded direct into the 404. It was in stereo, so it came in with, I think, kick on one channel and the two synth voices or two oscillators and noise on the other channel. And then in the 404, I centered the kick channel and put chorus on the rest of it. So now the kick's in the middle and the synths and noise are spread out via the chorus. And then for the vocal sample, I did work the exact one from the main Dharmic Beams LP. I wanted some variations. I wanted a longer one. I wanted a shorter one or whatever. So I went into the session, the DAW session, where I had made that sample for you and made some different ones with the exact same settings, but just like changed the lengths and imported those onto the 404 and then performed them live on the 404 and mixed the stems down and did the effects on the 404. So long story short, the Dharmic Dubs were mostly done on the 404 in that type of environment, but doing a little bit of editing or whatever in the DAW when needed, like to get the samples right or get the stems right. I got no trouble like rendering something out. If there's like a little pop I need to remove, I'm not precious about. I'll render it out, fix it in the DAW, bring it back in, because that's something that's just like impossible to do on the 404. Yeah. And then it was all mixed down to stereo on the 404 with the effects and everything, and then mastered in the DAW.
Okay. That is such a more
minimal DAW reliance.
Minimal DAW for the Dharmic Dubs, yeah. Just for little editing tasks or cleaning up samples or
polar opposite for the LP proper, because Pro Tools was the other instrument that I played on the album.
Nice.
What can I say?
Let me pull back a little bit. I mean, in some cases I arranged loops in the DAW. Don't Stop would be an example of that. So I took those loops I'd made for Daniel, looped them out, arranged the two different sections, and did all that in the DAW, and like created the stems in the DAW, then moved the stems onto the 404 for all the processing.
Well, until the 404 has a Waves J37 effect on it, or the Saturn Fab filter plug-in, like I wish that was all just in a nice little box, but there's just can't emulate that stuff.
No. And the 404,
except
even the Mark
emulator on Pro Tools.
Right. Even the Mark II, I mean, so the SX is totally just like a blunt instrument. I love that about it. The Mark II is much more refined compared to the SX, but it's still, you can't do precision editing or mastering or stuff like that on the Mark II. So in my workflow, at least, or for my creativity, there's still a real need for a DAW to bounce back and forth with. And of course I do projects, rock stuff and whatever, totally in the DAW. It has nothing to do with the 404. You can really, so in the previous podcast, we talked about the digidelay, and this dub like really brings that guitar part to the forefront. The lyrics, such as they are, I typed the title of the song, When Death is on the Line, into a Star Wars language translator set to Ewok. So I was going for that what's the celebration song at Return of the end of Return of the Jedi? Yeah, I was going for a Jub Nub, whatever type of vibe.
Let me go, pop, pop.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I fucking
It's my favorite
love it.
number from the entire Star Wars universe. Actually, you can keep
Classic.
your Imperial
Absolutely
March.
amazing.
Jub jub.
My God, I'm so glad I know that's a thing now.
Yeah,
I thought
maybe
so.
a couple of songs like that.
The first, yeah, I'm gonna do it more for sure. The throb control one, I just said nonsense. It doesn't, but it sounded like kind of Star Warsy nonsense to me. So to make it, it's a kind of a theme for the dubs. I wanted to add a little more Star Wars in.
Well, there's not enough Jar Jar in all of it, but I'll give it a pass.
That's probably my favorite Star Wars fan theory. Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord.
Yeah, he's a Sith Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a
right
good
up
one.
there with Daniel LaRussa is the bad guy in Karate Kid. Those are my two favorite fan theories for films. Dope.
Yeah, I love
I
this.
like-
This one was the bass and drums and stuff was heavily inspired by Ghanaian high life music, and yeah, I'm really pleased with the vibe. Like that could be a dangerous path to walk down for me, but I feel like I pulled it off okay.
I mean, I've sampled some bass lines like that on some things that probably will never see the light of day. So I actually went through some of my files today, and I used to have a selling site for beats on airbit.com. And today, when I was riding the bus on the way to a meeting, I just listened to it on shuffle and was like, man, I actually made all this. But at the same time, there's a couple of them that were on there that had that same kind of like slightly wobbly bass line that's coming through when you're doing that. And I was like, man, I like that. I think I might have actually used a couple of the same things just from different spots.
Sweet.
So great minds think alike.
Yeah,
You made that one though, right?
Yeah, this is all.
You played that bass line?
Yeah, I played it.
yeah, like
Great bass tones.
I was pretty ecstatic whenever Howie mentioned that he wanted to do this like desert rock African style thing, because as soon as I heard it, it's like, well, this totally makes sense. Like it's like a Fela Kuti bass line, or it's definitely got the Tuareg feel to it. Like that.
So I'm a big like huge Motown fan, and the bass tones in particular. So I do the P bass with the foam and DI, and that's kind of my whole bass thing.
Excellent. Sounds great.
Yeah, on the final product, trying like between here and this, like because this, whenever he gives me this, what you're hearing right now is pretty close to what I was given from the offset. I mean, without some of the synth stuff over top, and I was like, oh, this is like William Onyeab or like folks like that, and of course, love Imdo Mokhtar, who does a pretty prominent Tuareg guitarist. So it's like just like you're talking about, Lefty, like just syncing up, like just on by coincidence almost. You vibe with people who just happen to be on the same shit that you are every once in a while, and it just felt really good. Like, because this is one of the earliest ones that we'd worked on to get. Like, this was the second one after the second one we fully collaborated on after Don't Stop.
This is this is actually kind of crazy that I'm going to say this about this particular song, but there is a song by Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds called Heat of the Moment that on their second album, it's on that album, but then there's a remix of it at the end. And that song reminds me of that song.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
know
hope
we
we're
have, like,
keeping
a whole-
notes on. Yeah.
We have like a whole Noel Gallagher conversation we need to have at some point, right?
Yes. That also will be coupled with my extremely irrational love of Oasis. It's explainable, but I'll have to tell you at another time.
So this is the Royal Hotness booty dub, and this is another mashup. So this is a beat I made based on an MS-20 patch, where it's this wild patch. I didn't originate it. I pulled it. I read about it somewhere or saw a video or something, but you could set it up in just such a way so like the lowest note kind of makes a kick and the highest note kind of makes a snare, and then in between you have all these kind of filter based pitches, but it's not 12 tone equal tempered. So I made this this jam where it's all this stuff I'm just playing, and then some MIDI starts coming in to trigger the kick snare, so that's even, and then I'm like improvising in between the MIDI notes. And at one point I actually gave this to Royce to write to, and he hasn't, so I took it back because I have better stuff on the shelf for Royce whenever he wants to write, and he knows it. So I took this one back.
Huh.
And the vocal sample was I thought it was kind of like Softcore Syndicate, but in an almost childlike way. Put a booty on it. Like, that doesn't...
Just take whatever
Just, like,
it is and put a booty on it.
It doesn't have a booty, or you're going to touch a booty to it? Or like, what? It seemed like something a 5-year-old might say. Very
that
innocently.
deer over there. That deer. Put a booty on it.
Or you're looking at someone's work of art. They're like, what do you think? You're like, put a booty on it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how you touch upon the Dadaist and post-structural elements of it, but I think you really need to put a booty on it.
Put a booty on it.
It's just my opinion. Yeah, this track in particular is probably the most abstract in the Dharmic Beams discography. At
Big
this
long
point.
intro. But the elements again are really simple. So it's that MS-20 jam makes the drums and the bass essentially, and then
there's
a vocal sample.
A sprinkling of
something
Ventolin on it.
It sounds like something I'd get out of my Moog DFAM.
Oh, sweet.
Very similar timbres to some of these hits.
And so it's basically 3 elements: MS-20, drums and bass, vocal sample, and then there is the synth sample from the original, or the LP version of the song, which is Monotribe. So there is some of that Monotribe sample in there, slowed down.
Oh my God! What? This? It's right on the. It's right at the front of my brain, and I can't think of it. This is, I want to say, some early Mike Ladd songs that I heard sounded kind of like this.
Oh, I don't know, Mike
With
Ladd.
like sparse beats. Also gives off a little like Shabazz Palaces almost.
Oh, sweet. I love them.
A lot of like lesser mentioned anti-pop distortion, like side projects and beats and stuff. Also, Saul Williams used to do poetry over beats like these too.
I
like
met
this.
Saul Williams.
Tell us that story.
Me and a friend in college, we both dressed up as goths because we were. We weren't putting on an act. But we both
wait,
really liked.
is that a goth I see, or just someone dressed like a goth?
It's a fake goth. It's a pseudo goth. But she and I were both pretty big Nine Inch Nails fans, and we went to go see them in Wichita. And I was very young at the time. I looked very androgynous at the time, and we got a lot of looks because we look like two really hot chicks. When I'm in full goth garb, I look I mean, maybe not these days, but back then I was a fine piece. I think we would have confused a few conservatives, and we did. But anyways, we were like, we go in, and this is on the With Teeth tour, and we watched Saul Williams play, and then Nine Inch Nails starts playing, and of course, like, I'd been to like maybe 2 real concerts up to that point. I had no clue how loud concerts were actually, like decibel level, and so we were just hanging out by the soundboard. Because we're all back here, and this was like the Coliseum, right? Isn't that the one in Wichita, the big Coliseum? So
yes, I think that was probably one of the last things they did in that place, and then they built Hartman Arena across the road. They tore that down for the Wink Hartman. That's right. Okay. So yeah, we're on the other side of this hockey rink, basically, by the soundboard. And Saul Williams came up and was chatting us up, and I think he finally figured out that I was a dude. But like we still got our pictures in, and he's a really chill guy and like easy to get along with, and we made a few other super fans jelly that we were just immediately in because we look good. So that's my Saul Williams story.
Nice.
Amazing.
Oh, I love it.
And then I got in trouble for smoking a cigarette in the atrium. I put it out on my hand like a true goth in Wichita.
Yeah. I could see how that would happen.
It was a good show. It was a good time.
Nice.
And I was like, Saul, like, your costume, like the whole bedecked thing, it looks great, but what you need to do is put a booty on it. I mean, this is just some constructive criticism here, Saul.
Nice.
So that could be, I mean, you could write a whole piece called Put a Booty on It, really. I can see that. So this is the Atomic Lemon Dub of Slag Dragon, and this was basically Daniel's idea. Daniel shared with me an idea at some point of just like wanting to just absolutely destroy a song.
Total sonic annihilation.
Yeah, total sonic annihilation. And my favorite device for total sonic destruction is the MS-20's external signal processor, like maxed out. That's the most like beautiful distortion to me. It can be totally destroyed and still hold together and not be harsh, but it's weird. I love it. So that's what I did. This Slide Dragon had some parts that didn't end up in the official mix, so I kind of put those parts back in and rearranged them. Rearranged everything in the DAW. And so this was actually, so made the stems in the DAW, onto the 404 for some stem effects, stereo file back into the DAW, and then DAW to MS-20 and record it back in for the distortion. But then there's a whole bunch of automation so that it's super dirty at the beginning, cleans up in the middle, and then gets super dirty at the end again. So there's this automation going into the MS-20 and also some EQ, and then the opposite of that on the return, so that the level would be like the loudness would be the same throughout, because otherwise the clean part would be like 40 dB quieter than the start and ending. So there was a lot of DAW on this one, kind of.
It's clever though.
Very late 90s Berlin club feel.
Yeah, this one I was like, I want to make the Ollie G proud with this one. I want Chavs to be able to, like, Russian leg dance for this one.
I get it.
And this was the one with the discotheque inspired vocal sample, right? So the guitars are a little bit like pop era U2, trashy, delay, all that stuff.
I love that you love that era of U2 so much, because I love that era of U2 a lot.
Oh, good. We could be U2 pop brothers.
Dude, Octung through pop is just, I love it.
And see, like, I'm Octung through boy. I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like, I like the early stuff, and then Octung Baby, I was like, you know what? There's good songs on here. And then one came out, and that was the song that blew up of all the songs on there blew up on that album. And I'm like, they're gone. It's over. Like, the U2 that I love is no longer there. They saw a check. Baby, we done talking about revolution. Let's get paid. And like, that's where my disconnect started, because it was just like, damn, MTV got to him. Every band that I liked that MTV got to that wasn't hair metal, that's a caveat. Because hair metal was only popular because of MTV. And it's super weird that, like, I mean, not to talk about it or anything, but it is the elephant in the room. It's super weird that there are, like, people my age and older that are going against things that help people that aren't like them, when those were the same people they had as posters on their wall in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
You weren't looking at Vince Neil because he was pretty, but you were looking at Vince Neil dressed rather androgynously and loving what he did.
Yeah.
So, like, all of a sudden you get old and these things change. Like, what gives?
Yeah.
But that's just me. Sorry.
I feel you.
So,
yeah, that's funny.
Back to the music, though. Sorry about that.
No, that's all. I think
that's elucidating. People grow to, like, become reactionary against things that they're accustomed to, and I'm sure that on a cultural level, like, that's why you're seeing so much, like, backlash against, like, obviously David Bowie would be pumped as hell about what's happening right now in culture, but, like, anybody who was listening to David Bowie at the time was into him only because he was pissing off everybody in the establishment at the time. It's like this undulating cycle of like outrage and sexiness and pushing the envelope, and this isn't comfortable for me anymore. It just folds over itself. And I guess when people get into different stages of their lives, like I don't know, there's some modern forms of music where I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, why do they even like all the mumbling and the auto tune, and they don't even play a real guitar on that track. And, like, I can see that perspective to some degree, but, like, really,
he says that about Serene
Fiend. Yeah, we get that all the time, right? No, it's like, don't you want a little something new? Don't you want to, don't you want to push the envelope even if it's uncomfortable or not what you expected? I don't know what people want, obviously.
Neither do I. It's just one of my frustrations in life where it's like, the coolest thing about getting older is that you really learn that minding your own business is the best way to be about everything
True.
outside of the things you can control because you can't.
True.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be, a witness to anything that's weird or violent or anything like that and being like, well, I guess I minded my own business, so there's no hurt, no foul, like, but the everyday things that people are getting so stressed out about, we all have bigger problems, man. Like you
Yes,
guys are
we do.
mad at each other, and it's like there's only like 3,000 people on the planet that can actually afford to live the way things are going. So like, why aren't we all mad at them? Like, why aren't we like supporting independent artists and local shops and like building our friends and communities back up? Like I don't get anything that's going on. And I hate the fact that it comes out when people finally start paying attention to the messages that they get in music and going, oh my God, I can't believe they were talking about this on the wall. And it's like, now you hate Pink Floyd, but you've been singing these songs for 40 years. You know, now you hate Rage Against the Machine. You've been singing these songs since we were 15 years old. I guess I was the only one paying attention to the words, man. Like, I don't get it. You can't be mad at these guys are talking about things that they were talking about when I was 15 years old, because I think I got a decade on everybody in this group right now. But like when I was 15 and listening to Rage Against the Machine, I was like, these dudes are talking about things that we all need to be believing in. Like, we need to stand up against the people that are trying to keep us down, no matter who it is. Like, we need to rise up as a people and make sure that this is the world that we want to live in. And like 30 years later, same people are pissed off about it. Really? Like, really? So I just keep my headphones on, keep a Marvel movie on in the background, and make music that I can listen to with my friends and peers and enjoy music that my friends and peers make.
Well, it's
So,
easy for you to say because you're a active listener.
yeah, that's true.
And also to say, thanks Howie for using pop era U2 tones on your record, dude.
Well, thank you for
Spawned
bringing
this
it back
whole
around.
conversation.
I did want to say so. Mysterious Ways changed my life.
Fuck
Before
yeah.
Mysterious Ways was on the radio, I listened to country music. And so Achtung Baby is my favorite record of all time. And I love basically all U2. I love U2 up through about No Line on the Horizon. I think No Line is secretly a great U2 record if you skip stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
I
is
like
that the one that they gave us on our iPhones when we bought
no.
them? Oh, okay.
It's the one with the
What's that?
gray cover of like an ocean and clouds.
Not the one with Vertigo, though, right?
Not the one with Vertigo. The single was Get on Your Boots, which did not represent the
Okay.
record at all, really.
Yeah.
U2
Yeah.
singles just never represent the records anymore. They really like the modern era, like post pop, like starting with All That You Can't Leave Behind. The singles just never do the records justice.
I mean, to be fair, the first time I heard Discotheque, I was like, what are they doing? And that was when I was like really out then, because I was just like part of the whole backlash against, U2 sold out. And it was just like that was the apex of my anger was that album,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I totally get it because I've had a bunch of friends that saw them live during that tour and was like, yeah, dude, if you're going to an arena rock show, that's the one you need to go to. Like,
Mm-hmm.
apparently they killed it on that tour. Like,
That tour's stage production is pretty bonkers. I mean, I don't think anything will ever beat Zoo TV. Howie, you'll probably
nah,
back me up on that. That is just like the tour to end all U2 tours.
yeah.
But
I mean, I'll even give it up for that one. Like, that was just like, yeah, those dudes were doing it all. Like, let them cook.
I thought of a great question. We can have a one question Monday sometime with you guys. I thought of a great U2 question. So I'm saying that to file away for later.
okay.
All
I'm not
right.
going to ask it right now. I do want to. So I haven't played another song, and I'll probably move Ecclesiastical Confusion back in the edit because I want to build on something Ebony was saying, about building up our communities and building up our friends. And so this was another like mashup. I had this. This is the other lep loop jam. So again, a lep loop jam kind of done the same way as the one I talked about earlier.
Okay.
And I asked Daniel for a bunch of stems for this because I did not know like what sample I wanted to use. And what I thought I was going to use was probably that Rompler piano sound, which I just love. And I couldn't make it work. And I tried like another synth solo and I couldn't make it work. So I tried at least 3 things, I think. And then I tried that guitar part. And just instantly, that guitar part just slotted into this completely unrelated jam. And I had so much fun. I did it in like an hour. It just came together. I did this in the DAW, but I slowed it down, both because I wanted the time stretch and to match pitch. And I chopped it up and added just a little ambient delay in some parts to like extend so it wouldn't drop out completely. And just the way it meshed with that lip loop jam so perfectly, but so oddly. And like the number of measures isn't even, and it's just this beautiful little microcosm to me. And I love it so much. And that jam wasn't going anywhere until Daniel's guitar part got imported. So shout out to Daniel for that.
Well, I gotta endorse the Universal Audio Ruby 63 pedal for that one.
Okay.
Because I ran.
Is that the reverb?
And no, it's an amp sim of a Vox, a 63 Vox.
Oh, okay.
It's like a dual 63 Vox amp sim.
Or you
with
too,
multiples.
bro.
With is that what they used?
Oh yeah, Edge is known for his
Vox
usage.
love.
Yeah.
Well, it's got like 4 different speaker sims, and I mean, like they ain't cheap, but my favorite part about it is it's a good DI for guitar, and you can affect like the mic placement in a room with it, and that. So of course I just cranked that shit up. It sounds like you recorded it from down the hallway from the opposite studio to get it, and then of course you put some chorus on there, and it sounds good because
you're in business. No, that's a great guitar sound. I've always liked that.
If there's chorus on a Vox, then it's perfect. Then it sounds exactly how it's supposed to sound.
All right, fellas, it's been a long journey, but we're about to finish it out. This is the dub that started it all. Don't stop. I want more.
Good bass tone.
Same thing, P bass, foam, DI.
Foam, like right next to the bridge.
Under the bridge.
Ooh.
Yeah, right next to the bridge. It's the James Jamerson type of, yeah.
Sirs, fellas, gentlemen, people, this is dope. Like if Mars was a disco band that did pump up the volume eventually in the 80s.
Nice.
I like this. These are the kind of things that I just kind of make to listen to when I'm just chilling. Like nobody's ever going to hear these things unless they happen to come over the house and I'm playing this stuff randomly. Like just kind of going back and reminiscing and seeing if I can improve on it or just listening to it because I like to listen to it.
My whole like measuring stick for this was like, could I imagine hearing this in Love Garden?
Oh, nice.
I think you could.
Yeah. It sounded a lot better than a lot of the things I've heard in Love Garden. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm sorry. But I'm a snob. I'm a terrible, pretentious snob.
But You say you're sorry. It's okay.
Yeah, see, that makes it okay. I pre-apologized.
By the way, shout out to the Love Garden. If anybody that works there or goes there hears anything or says anything, big shout out to Cyrus and Kelly and crew. I don't know who all still works there from when I used to live up there, but always one of the only places I can guarantee you're going to catch me when I go to Lawrence. So,
Spot. They're the homies.
I'm sure all four of us have records priced by Cyrus in his handwriting in our collections.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Somewhere I know
sitting right here.
Like that was my addiction for a long time, was just buying random, like, hard to find CDs, because I was never a very permanent person in Lawrence, so I didn't have room for vinyl, and I'm just now getting comfortable enough to want to start looking at those two down here. But I would go to Love Garden and grab, like, hey, do you have, like, one specific instance I remember, because I'm very upset that I actually don't have that CD anymore, is Anti-Pop Consortium put out a Japan release only album called Shopping Carts Crashing. And I think I paid like $45 for that, and Love Garden ordered it for me. So anybody that can find something that obscure, you're always going to have a mark in my book, man. That's solid. So,
hell yeah.
And I mean, if anybody's listening, can you price that out for me again? Because I think I'm probably going to order another one if it's out there.
Let's see here. I'm on Discogs right now, and I'm seeing for this. Did you want the CD or? Because there's 5 CDs for sale. Looking like the closest one to us is in Japan. They aren't cheap, man.
Yeah.
There's a VG Plus that's $31 with $59 shipping.
And that's probably the cheapest one too, huh?
That is the cheapest one. But also take into consideration, I can't read other people's currencies. They just look like gobbledygook to me. So there's one that looks like an E with some lines through it, and that's $30 with E lines, and $45 shipping. Is $30 in E lines expensive?
I don't know. I think yen is like less than $1. Like a lot less, maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 to $1.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Oh, you're talking about. No, there's a Y with lines through it that's
okay.
$4,350.
Right. Okay. So it's more than.
And that's the Y with the lines through it.
Yeah.
Wow. So that thing must be like still in the package, never been played.
Well, not necessarily. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of yen in every dollar. So
how many yens is in a dollar? This is
you're listening to Global Currency Cast.
Buy now. Buy all currency right now. Let's see
Don't
here.
stop. I want more.
1 Japanese yen equals 0.0067 United States dollar.
So
7 cents.
I mean, a little bit more than half a cent.
No,
so it's like 250.
It's a little bit more than 0.5 of a cent.
Bad.
It's 0.0067 cents.
Oh, wow.
No. Sorry. I'm getting my currency screwed up.
Right, you said it right the first time.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. It's 0.67 cents.
Oh, okay. So.
Yeah, so it's like 150 yen to $1, roughly.
You do the
super
math.
roughly. Anyway, that's the end of Dharmic Dubs.
That's not bad.
Hope you enjoyed it. You can pick it up at MrFuriousRecords.bandcamp.com or lovecraft.bandcamp.com, or stream it wherever you like to stream. On the Bandcamp, there is one additional bonus track we're not hearing tonight. It is the 10-minute original tempo, actually a house track version of the Royal Hotness. So for the LP, Daniel sped up the jam by quite a bit. For the dubs, I slowed it down by quite a bit. But I
You didn't
did
slow it
do
down
like
at all. You put it where it was. You left it as it should be.
no, for the booty dub, it's way slowed down.
Oh, okay. Oh, for the booty dub, that's right.
Yeah, but for the
for
Bandcamp bonus
track,
the Bandcamp bonus track is original tempo, minimal, with a new vocal sample that you haven't heard and some different stuff, and it's like actually a house track. For once,
finally we get some
finally to close it all out as the very last bonus track for the deepest divers ever. But thanks everyone for going on this journey with us. Thanks, listeners. Links to all of the stuff from Daniel and Joel and Ebony in the description. And yeah, good pod, guys.
Great pod. Great album. Congrats, guys.
Thank you.
Dude, that's awesome.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you
it's
could
dope.
share this moment with us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing this with us. And we're not like playing a show or anything. This is kind of the party. So
This is the show. This is like
this is it.
the one album release show that we actually had, and we really want to thank our friends Joel and Ebony for showing up tonight. Tip your bartender, and
Get home
Like-
safely.
Like young androgynous goth Daniel, I was not ready for the decibels.
Nice.
the DBs, the Dharmic beams.
The loofs. The RMSs.
Oh yeah,
Said the shotgun to the RMSs.
yeah. Howie told me all about RMSs. Whenever.
Oh, that's a
whenever-
whole set. We can't get into that. It's a whole separate pod.
Okay, I'm
Whole
sorry,
separate
sorry,
pod.
okay.
Whole separate
Needless
pod.
to say, I learned a lot during the process of making this.
Yeah, hey, if you would like me to master your record or teach you about mastering, reach out at thelongplaylp@gmail.com. Aside from that, this has been Global Finance Currency Exchange Cast on the Long Play Listening Party Network. Later, everybody.
Later. Be well, guys.
Take care, Ebony.